Be'ez Hashem, we're going to study page 70 in Tractate Bava Metzia. This page is loaded with halachot, such as we are in a boating city, so the question of renting, leasing a boat with all the consequences. Obviously in those days it wasn't insurance company, but there is a different concept of responsibility. For example, you're renting a boat, but you conditioned that the fellow that leased the boat, he is responsible for things that beyond his control as well. So anything that happened, like sudden things, he is still responsible how you're not conflict with the issue of interest. Another subject we're going to discuss today is the orphan. Obviously, the whole concept of ribit de Rabbanan, a rabbinic law of interest, that comes as an addition to the biblical prohibition of interest. The question is how you treated a young, very young orphan that desperately needs the money, and do you have any room for leniency when it's come for those who are in charge, the guardians, for those young, to collect interest for them. Furthermore, the code, the Shulchan Aruch and the Rema, speaks also about hekdesh, something that it's a consecrated money, such as charity fund, congregations money, Talmud Torah, etc. How you allowed to collect interest if needed. And you see soon a disputation between the Shach and the Rema if one can do it or not. But obviously, we continue the subject of the several days ago, which is the business actions between parties that involve in part of collecting a deposit, and the other part is collecting a loan. We explained, for example, if Reuven lent to Shimon 100K in exchange to a state that worth 200K, and then things happen, how you treat it. Or if Reuven lent 100K to Shimon, ask Shimon to occupy himself to make money, and after a period of time it is now 120, how you treat it. We said that you split the money, you split the 100 to 50-50, which is each money divided to half a loan and half deposit, and regardless if you make money or you lose money, the responsibility, it has to be equal share responsibility. Why is that? Because if, for example, in those days they use a cow, so if someone gives a cow to his fellow, Reuven give a cow to Shimon for 100, for example, $100, and then he improved the quality of the cow and now it's $500. So the question is, you have here a profit of 400, and obviously you think that we split it between the two partners, that each of them will get 200. Now the idea is, since we said that the structure of this business, it's 50-50, which is 50 loan and 50 deposit, what happened here is that Shimon, by using his 50, he is basically giving work free of charge to the other partner. And then we involve in the problem of ribit, of an interest. So that's a heavy subject, because as we explained in the past several days, we have a biblical prohibition of interest, we have a rabbinic issue of interest. And I would like to conclude this introduction by a story of the great late Rav Yosef Shalom Eliashiv. It's a translation from one of the Hebrew book. It's called Piskei Hagrish. One man living in Eretz Israel was unable to pay the electric bill until night before the company was about to cut his power. You know people like that? They owe money and they send them a warning, and they're just about to cut off the power. The final bill had an ominous warning and a very large sum of money added on as interest to his large debt. So he wondered if he was allowed to pay the bill. Why? Because after all, the electric company was Jewish owned and run. So was it not an open and shut case of rebate of an interest? So when the question was presented to the late Rav Yosef Shalom Eliashiv Zatzal, he ruled that he could pay the bill. He said, there is a few, but one of them is Maharshdam. He rules that any interest paid in a manner of businesses is not problematic. Although we generally do not rely on this opinion, in this instance, where they are forcing you to pay or you will lose your electricity, so you can rely on this lenient view. However, it is definitely forbidden to wait to pay the bill until one is forced to pay interest on it. One must make every effort to pay on time to avoid this predicament. It is only if one is already in the situation that he can pay the bill, including the interest. Anyway, we are the Mishnah, page 69b, middle of the page. Shamin para v'chamor וכל דבר שהוא עושה ואוכל למחצה. So the Mishnah said, you can take the cow, obviously as we said that's ancient, but we can derive from that a practical halachot. But we said that one may appraise a cow or a donkey or any item that guarantees revenue while eat and give it to another to feed and take care of it in exchange. So he said, lemechza, for half of the profits, as we explained, just using numbers, cow $100, he improved the cow $500, it's $200 for each one. So basically he divided the profit that this animal revenue and the babies, the consequences, but also it's very important to remember that when it's come to business, it's also taking care of the case of loss. If they lose money, he needs to be responsible for that. So if you need to pay, for example, the shepherd extra money for his labor, for his food, so they said, מקום שנהגו לחלוק את הוולדות מיד, חולקים. If it's a place where it's the customary to divide the offspring immediately upon the birth, they divided them. מקום שנהגו לגדל, so here, you remember yesterday we talked about בהמה גסה, בהמה דקה, a different time. מקום שנהגו לגדל, יגדילו. So the place where there is a customary for the one who cared for the mother to raise the offspring for an additional period of time before dividing them, so he should raise them. Why? Because the shepherd cannot enforce the owner to divide, so the offspring is not considering a new deal. So in a way, the Gemarrah later explains that they remain equal partner, and the shepherd cannot collect a new profit from the portion of the ownership. רבן שמעון בן גמליאל אומר, שמין עגל עם אמו וסייח עם אמו. He said one may appraise a calf together with its mother, or a foal with his mother, and you think about it, it's young animals. And young animals, you don't have revenue while they eat. But the key is the baby, when it's his mother take care of everything. So is in a way, she nurse him, is no effort to take care of the baby. Umafriz is a few, some say umafrin. Mafrin is like fruitful and multiply, Rashi said. So they said umafriz al sadeu, or mafrin al sadeu. So he and one may inflate the rental fee paid for his field. ואינו חושש משום ריבית. And there's no concern for the issue of interest. The Gemara will explain why. I'd like to share with you the Rambam. The Rambam in Ilchot Shluchim Tafim, chapter 8. Cows and donkeys, as well as any animal that generates revenue while it eats, may be appraised with the stipulation that after caring for the animals for some times, the profit of the additional value will be divided between the owner of the animals and the one who taking care of them, since the one taking care of the animals derives benefit from the revenue generated by the animals while they are in his care. If one gives animals to another to raise, and offspring are born to these animals, in a place where it is customary to divide offspring immediately, so they should do so. In the place where it is not customary to divide them, then in the case of species of small animals, one should raise the offspring for 30 days, and for the species of large animals, 50 days. From that point onward, he received 3/4 of the profit. That's the Yoreh De'ah 177. Tanu Rabbanan, mafriz al sadeu, ve'no choshesh mishum rabit. The rabbi said that that's applied to the last part of the Mishnah. They said that one may inflate the rental fee paid for his field, and he doesn't need to be concerned with regard to issue of interest. Keitzad, give me example. הסוחר את השדה מחברו ב10 קורים, חיטים לשנה. Someone rent from another for a price of 10 core of wheat per year. ואומר לו, תן לי 200 זוז ואפר נסנה. And he said, give me 200 dinars as a loan, and I'll use it to cultivate the field and equip it with fertilizing it and hiring people to work on it. ואענה לך 12 קורין לשנה מותר. So he said, the deal is that I'll bring 12 korin per year. That's in addition to returning you 200 dinars. So you're allowed to do it, because you have here a joint investment in improving the field, while the owner providing the capital and the renter providing the labor. The higher rental fee is therefore paid for a higher quality field and not as interest on the loan. אבל אין מפריז לא על חנות ולא על ספינה. You said one may not inflate the rental fee paid for a store or a ship. The renter cannot borrow money from the owner to purchase merchandise to sell in the store or transport in a ship, and in return increase the rental fee. That's basically loan of interest. אמר רב נחמן אמר רבא ברבוע, פעמים שמפריז, it's a time when one inflate על חנות, inflate the rental fee pay for a store, and it's not an interest. How? לצור בצורה. So for example, he made a special painting, he designed walls. So ספינה לעשות לה איסקריה. So when it's a boat, he fashioned a sail. So that's basically create a profit because it's improving the condition. Chanut latzur batzuta, when it's come to store, so you make a beautiful a painting design on its wall. Detzavu ba'inshei v'have agrat fei. So obviously, if you improve the appearance of a store, more people want to come and visit the store and hopefully purchase in that store. So you consider that money not as a loan, but that's the Meiri explain. The rental fellow used the money of the owner of the store in his agent to improve the quality of the store. So since the store is now in a better shape, it's proper that he should add more to the rent of the store. As nowadays, they for race, that they use for race, they charge extra money for that. ספינה לעשות לה עסקריה, כיוון לשפיר העסקריית פי, אגרת פי. So more people wants to drive with that boat, so the value of the boat is higher. Now, as far as renting a boat, ספינתה מרב אגרה ופגרה. So when it's come to a boat or ship, so they said, Rav said for a ship, it's permitted to conduct a transaction where someone pays rent for the use of the ship and is also liable to pay any damage caused to the ship. So Rashi said that usually a fellow that rent, it's exempt from things that the Bava is control. But you can put a condition in advance, put it in a contract, that he is responsible for cases like that, even it's beyond his control, even it's honest, and the Gemarrah will discuss later why it's not rebate, why it's not interest. אמרו לרב כהנא ורב אסי לרב, אי אגרה לא פגרה, אי פגרה לא אגרה. So they said, pick and choose. Either you said that if it's the ship is in the domain of the rental fellow and he collect rent for using it, so he cannot collect the money for damage. Why? Because we said that the socher, one who rents, if it's beyond his control, is not responsible. Ipagra, however, if he receive payment for damage, then he should not receive rent. If the ship is the responsibility of the renter, it is a loan. And if he pays rent for such a loan, it is interest. Shatik Rav did not answer. He was quiet. Didn't answer to that question. Amar Rav Sheshet, Mai ta'ama shatik, Rav. What's the reason that Rav did not respond to this question? Lo shmi'a leha detanya. Af al pi she'amru, that's the Gemarrah in 70, page 70b. En mekablim tzon barzel mi-Yisrael. One may not accept a guaranteed investment from a fellow Jew, meaning one may not accept from a Jew any mouse to raise and receive 1/2 of the profit, while also accepting full responsibility to pay the initial value of the animals in the events where there is a loss, as this arrangement is deemed a loan with interest. So they said, אבל מקבלים צאן ברזל מן הנוכרים, אבל אמרו, השם פרה לחברו ואמר לו, הרי פרתך עשויה עליי ב30 דינר, ואני ללך סלע בחודש מותר, לפי שלא עשה דמים. So the Gemara asked, וכי לא עשה ולא עשה, אמר רב ששת לא עשה דמים מחיים, אלא לאחר מיתה. So here, the Pnei Yoshua and others said that the idea is that the transaction It's not a loan, and the monthly payment, it's not an interest. So that's the same idea that if one renting a boat with the condition that he is also responsible for all the onus beyond his control, that's depend upon the contract, but basically if the renter is not responsible, if it reduces the value, then אמר רב פאפא הלכת הספינה אגרה ופרגה. So Rav Papa said that the halacha is, in case of a ship, it is permitted to collect rent and the payment for damage. So page 70, I'm renting to you a boat in so and so, and you're responsible for onasim. ונהגו בני כופרה, and the people, the men of a pitch, which is the sailor, אגרה בשעת משיכה, פגרה בשעת שבירה. They do it at the time of pulling. That's the time that they pay the rent. And when it's come to pagra, the damage at the time of breakage. So Reb Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, ask a question. If you tell me that schirut mishtalemet basof, that you go by the rental, you go to the very end, why here we said bishat meshicha? So he explained that it's all depend upon it's in the contract between the two parties, or according to the minhag hamakom, the way that the people in that community does it, and therefore it can happen that they do it in such a way that it's not in a regular way. Anyway, atu b'minhaga talya milta. So you mean to say that this depends upon a local custom? So they said, Mishum de matnita tanya minhaga. So because we have this in the Mishnah, the Braita taught this, so it's an acceptable custom and therefore permitted. Now, אמר רבנן אמר שמואל, מעות של יתומים מותר להלוותם בריבית. This is a painful, serious halacha. You have an orphan, they're young, they are total depend on the guardian, and the rabbis feel for them, and the rabbis feel that we should be lenient with them because they need to make a living and they need to have the support. Therefore, if it's only an issue of the Rabbanan, they are more lenient. The idea is that they are young, they are still exempt from mitzvot, they don't do it by themselves, they use the guardian to do it for them, etc. אמר לרב נחמן, משום דיתמי נינו ספינה לו איסורה. Nachman asked a question. Just because they are young, we let them violate laws? So the Ritva explains, Rab Nachman was concerned that when they reach maturity, they feel it's okay to do such a thing, to lend money with interest, because they get used to that when they are young. So they said, Chachamim said, in the Tractate Erkin, page 22, Yatmei de achlei de lav didhu, leizlu batar shavkayu. So in a way they explain that often that eat something that is not there, so it's better for them to go to the place that, like the cemetery, like past, like father. Amar le ema li izu gufa deuvda heiche ava. How you explain, or what exactly happened when you see Shmuel does that? Amar lei hahu duda devnei mar ukva dahava beimar Shmuel. So he said that there was a certain cattle that belongs to the children of Mar Ukva who were minor orphan, and this cattle was in the house of Mar Shmuel, who were rented out on behalf of the orphans. Takil ve'yahavelei, takil ve'shakelei, shakil arga ve'shakil pchata, היא אגרה לפחתה והיא פחתה להרגה. So here we see Mar Shmuel collect for this orphan, so it means that Shmuel collected for this orphan both the rental of this dude and also the money for the lost. היא אגרה לא פחתה, והיא פחתה לא אגרה. So you see that both, if the renter collect the rent, so he will not take the money of the depreciation, and vice versa. And if he takes payment for the depreciation, the mean of the cattle was a loan, and therefore he should not take a rental fee, as by taking both, it's interest. So what you see here, Mar Shmuel did so with the cattle belonging to Mar Ukva's children, which means he rented it permitted for the orphans to take interest. Amar lei, so he responded to him and he said, Ki ha afilu bidkanane name shar leme'ebad. So in the time of the maturity, the orphan who was older, they have already beard. So it means that they already reached the age of the maturity, the adult. So he said, if there is no prohibition of proof from the case like this, as even for an adult, it is permitted to act in this matter, as the owner accept upon themselves the depreciation of the copper, and as the more the copper is burned, the more value of the pot is diminished. אמר לי כי אפילו בדקנן אינה משאר למעבד, דהמקבל עליו חוסך דנחשה, דחממק לנחשה, בציר דמי. So the rental pay for the visible depreciation as measured by the reduction in the weight of the vessel, and therefore this arrangement is certainly permitted. So Rashi said that's only Rabbanon, it's only rabbinic. And the holy idea it's avak ribit. It's not ribit ktsutza. So the idea is that the Rabbanon, the sages said that the young orphans, they have nothing to eat or they are very poor, so they allow that such a thing. But the poskim, most of them said that bidkanane, it's a sign that only at that time, when they reach adult, you can't do that. אמר רבא בר שילה אמר רב חיסדא ואמרי לה אמר רבא בר יוסף בר חמא אמר רב ששת, מעות של יתומים מותר להלוותם קרוב לשכר ורחוק להפסד. So when you have money from the orphan, so you can go ahead and you can lend them, but you have to do it in a way that it's very close to profit and far from loss. Because usually it's a hint of interest, but here they allow it for them, so the sages are more lenient in order for that their inheritance be preserved for them. תנו רבנן, קרוב לשכר ורחוק להפסד רשע, קרוב להפסד ורחוק לשכר חסיד, קרוב לזה ולזה, רחוק מזה ומזה, זו מידת כל אדם. So here we talk about the law of interest. So when you have a joint venture that the investors are close to profit and far from loss, so that's basically a wicked person. Why? Because a person thinking only if he make money, not if he lose, meaning he is not ready to take the loss. We always said, when it's come to business, there are people who think that it's always making. They don't realize that in business you can lose as well. But the Gemarrah in Yevamot, page 20, said that even it's rabbinic, someone violated rabbinic law, it's considering wicked. If it's close to lost and far away from reward, so that's chassid, that's a pious person. because he is responsible for all the happening, and he collected only some of the profit. So because it's all considering a pikadon, a deposit. But if it's both, it's close to this and to that, or far from this and from that, this is a quality of every person who acts in the way that halacha required, or Itva said. That's the average. You should remember that the Meiri said that also the labor needs to be paid. Schar amal. Amar le Rabba le Rav Yosef. There's another phase when it's come to a state of orphan. Hane zuzei de yatmei. This is the money that belonging to an orphan. Heiche avdinan lehu. What do we do with that? So the question is, what do we do the best for those orphans? Amar le motvinan lehu bidina. We leave the money in a bet din. V'yavinan lu zuza zuza. And we, in order for them not to get the money in one time, they do it in process. Slowly. Zuza zuza, dinar by dinar. Amar lei v'haka kalya karna. In this way, the principal will be depleted, and therefore the court will not be acting as suitable guardians for the orphans, as they will not be properly administrating their estate. Amar lei mar heiche avid. What do you, Rabbah, does in the money of the orphan? Amar lei, Rabbah said to Rav Yosef, badkinan gavra. We are search for a wealthy person. The itle dahava pricha. That he have all these pieces of gold, that he's not doing business transactions with them. He have it in his safe. V'naktinan dahava minei. We collect that dahava, that gold, as a collateral. V'yahavinan lehu nihalei. And we give him the money of the orphan and in a business deal. Karov lesachar verachok lehefsed. So the assumption is, Rashi said, Yosef said, that with a wealthy person, if he lose, he still have money to pay the principal. But meanwhile, the orphan make a living from the profit of that business. Aval davar mesuyam, lo. But if something that have a sign, a specific item, meaning a finished gold item, that's not. Dilma pikadoninu. Perhaps it is deposit in the possession of one holding it. Ve'ate mareya hiv simanim v'shakele. And the order will come and provide marks that he recognizes on the item, and the orphan will suffer a loss. Amar Rav Ashi, this is a good idea. Mishtakach gavra di'itli dahava pricha. If you have a fellow that have a scrap of gold, ilo mishtakach gavra di'itli dahava pricha. What do? Nechlu zuzei deyatmei. We eat away the orphan money. The whole money will be depleted. We are searching a person whose properties are quiet, meaning that there is no claim disputing his ownership of the item. Umeheman, that is a trustworthy person. Veshamadina deoraita. That's very important, that he's followed the Torah law, velo mekabel shamta derabanan. That he never have experience of excommunication from the Beis Din, meaning that he never refused to appear in a Beis Din, or he never refused to psak, to rule of the Beis Din. And we give him the money in a court as a joint business venture, with the terms that are close to profit and far from loss. And this way the orphan's money can be invested in a safe and profitable manner. There are a few halachot here the Choshen Mishpat in 290, you see it also in the Rambam, they said that it's permitted to lend money belonging to orphans with any type of interest that in other circumstances is prohibited by rabbinic law. It is also permitted to do so with money donated to charity for poor people or for Torah study or a synagogue. There are some who act stringently and do so only with permission of a court. It is prohibited to lend any money, even belonging to orphans, with fixed interest. It is prohibited to lend money in a manner in which it is far from loss and close to profit, as these contain a hint of interest. One who does it so is called wicked, and he is nevertheless executed for such a loan. The term are ignored, and instead the profits are losses, and losses are divided in an ordinary joint business venture. Lending money in a manner that is close to loss and far from profit is considered a pious act. If orphans inherit money from their father's estate, it is not necessary to appoint a steward to manage the funds, but rather the money is deposited under the management of a court. The Rama cites that some authorities who say that it is preferable to appoint a steward who is likely be more energetic in managing the funds than the court will. In appointing a guardian, the court must seek an individual who possesses superior quality property, who is trustworthy, who obeys Torah law, and one who has not been excommunicated. The money is given to one who meets these criteria before the court according to the terms of a joint business venture that is close to profit and far from loss. If such an individual cannot be found, then it is given to one who can give scraps of gold as a pledge. If there is no one to whom the court can lend the money, property should be purchased with the money, and the remaining funds should be distributed gradually for support of the orphan. That's basically the Choshen Mishpat 290. Page 70b, משנה. אין מקבלים צור ברזל מישראל מפני שהוא ריבית, אבל מקבלים צור ברזל מן הנוכרים, מן העובד כוכבים. So when it's come to accept from a fellow Jewish sheep raise or other item care for a guarantee investment, because it's a interest. But from idolater, you can do it. אבל מקבלים צור ברזל מעובד כוכבים ולווים מהם ומלווים אותם בריבית. וכן בגר תושב מלווה לישראל את מעותיו של עובד כוכבים, מדעת העובד כוכבים ולא מדעת ישראל. למימרא דברשותם דמקבל קיימה ורמינו, המקבל צאן ברזל מן הנוכרים ולדות פטורים מן הבכורה. אמר רבי אלו קשיא, הדמקבל אונסי וזולה, הדלא מקבל עלי אונסי וזולה. You have to differentiate between the one that did accept upon himself responsibility for losses due to accident and depreciation, one who did not accept upon himself responsibility for losses due to accident and depreciation. So the guarantee of investment stand in the possession of the recipient. אמר לרבה, אידם מקבל למרת אונסה וזולה, צאן ברזל קרית לי, על איתן אסף, אבל מקבלים צאן ברזל מן עובדי כוכבים, לפלוג בדידי, במה דברים אמורים דלא קביל עלי אונסה וזולה, אבל קביל למרה אונסה וזולה שפיר דמה. אלא רבה, אידי וידי לא קביל למרה אונסה וזולה. וגבי בכורות, היינו טעם דבלדות פטורים מן הבכורה, כמובן דהי לא יהיב זוזי, את נוכרי תפיס לבהמה, והיא לא משכח לה לבהמה, תפיס לבלדות, והווה לי יד נוכרי באמצע, וכל יד נוכרי באמצע פטור מן הבכורה. So the same applies in the mechirat chametz, the selling chametz. We sell from the bechirot, because in our days behema doesn't have the kedushat bechor. It's different than it used to.
משולש